The bridge had never mattered much before the war. It was just concrete and steel, stretching over a shallow river, used by trucks and people going about their normal days. Now it was the last way out. On one side, families were moving away from the city with whatever they could carry. On the other side, the alien advance was getting closer by the hour. He stood alone near the center of the bridge, rifle resting against a cracked barrier. He was not a hero in his own mind. He had no special training beyond what was required, no famous record, just a uniform worn thin and a body already tired before the first shot was fired. The order was simple. Hold the bridge as long as possible. Backup might come, or it might not. He was not told how long as possible really meant. Still, he nodded and stayed. The first wave came without warning. Shapes moved through the smoke, tall and armored, voices sharp and foreign. He fired when they crossed the marked line. The recoil hurt his shoulder, but instinct took over. One target fell, then another. The bridge echoed with sound, loud and endless. Minutes turned into an hour. The air smelled of heat and dust. His hands shook, not from fear alone, but from effort. Every time he thought it was over, more movement appeared at the far end. He kept checking the other side of the bridge. Civilians were still crossing. Slow, careful. Each step mattered. That was why he stayed where he was.
When his rifle jammed, panic flashed through him. He dropped behind cover, fixed it with trembling fingers, and breathed until the noise inside his head settled. He could not afford to rush. Not now.
The aliens did not expect this. He could tell by the way they hesitated, by how they stopped advancing after each push. They were used to fear, used to collapse. Instead, they found one human who refused to move. By the third hour, his leg burned where shrapnel had cut into it. He wrapped it tight and stood again. Sitting down felt dangerous. If he rested too long, he might not stand back up. Between attacks, his thoughts drifted to simple things, quiet mornings, shared meals, a life that felt far away now. He did not think about medals or stories. He thought about the people still behind him. As the sun shifted in the sky, the fighting slowed. The bridge was scarred. Smoke rose from broken sections. He could feel something changing. The enemy was watching more closely now. Far away, beyond the smoke, someone important had noticed the delay. Someone powerful enough to ask why an entire force had been stopped by one human.
He did not know that yet. He only knew the bridge still stood. And as long as it did, he would too. The fighting did not stop. It came in waves, uneven and unpredictable. Sometimes there was a rush of movement and noise. Other times there was only silence, thick and heavy, as if the bridge itself was holding its breath.
He learned quickly that time was his real enemy. His arms felt heavier with every shot, his mouth was dry, and his thoughts came slower than before. He checked his remaining ammunition again and again, counting without really needing to. The numbers were not comforting. The aliens tried something different. Instead of charging, they tested him. A few steps forward, then back. Smoke rolled across the bridge, stinging his eyes. He fired when he was sure, saving each round like it mattered, because it did. The bridge shook when something heavy struck the far end. Cracks spread along the concrete, thin lines at first, then deeper. He adjusted his position, choosing spots where the ground still felt solid under his boots. Every step had to be careful now. Pain settled deeper into his body. His legs throbbed constantly, and his shoulder felt numb. He pressed his back against the barrier and took slow breaths. If he let the pain control him, it would be over. Between attacks, he listened, not just for footsteps, but for voices from behind. The sound of people moving, of relief mixed with fear. It told him they were still crossing. It told him his time on the bridge still mattered. At one point, a distant explosion sent dust raining down. For a brief second, he thought the bridge had finally given up, but it held, barely. The aliens seemed confused now. They stopped advancing for long stretches, watching him from the far side. He could feel their attention like weight on his chest. This was no longer just about crossing the bridge. It had become a question. Why was he still standing? He asked himself the same thing, not because he wanted to quit, but because his body begged for it. Every instinct said to retreat, to survive. Instead, he stayed where he was, gripping his rifle and watching the far end. As the hours dragged on, the sky shifted again, light faded into a dull grey. His vision blurred at the edges. He slapped his cheek once, hard enough to focus. Then the attacks stopped completely. No movement, no sound, only the wind pushing smoke across broken ground. He did not relax. Silence like this was never empty. Far beyond the bridge, the alien force reorganized. Messages were sent, orders questioned. Something unexpected had slowed an entire advance. He did not know it yet, but his stand was no longer just a delay. It was a problem. Someone powerful was listening now. He adjusted his stance, ignoring the pain screaming through him, and waited. The bridge was still standing. So was he Dame that Klein screaming through him, and waited? The bridge was still standing. So was he ED? The quiet did not mean safety. It meant change. He felt it before he saw anything. The air seemed heavier, like a storm building without clouds. The smoke on the far end of the bridge slowly thinned, not because of wind, but because something had ordered it to clear. Shapes appeared again, but they did not rush forward. They stood back, forming lines, leaving a wide open space at the center. It was deliberate, controlled. He shifted his weight and nearly stumbled. His leg protested sharply, but he stayed upright. Sitting down now felt like surrender. He kept his rifle raised, even though his arms trembled. From the far side, a single figure stepped forward. She was taller than the others and moved with calm confidence. Her armor was darker, marked with symbols he did not recognize. She did not hurry. She did not need to. The others moved aside for her without being told. He understood at once. This was not just another attacker. She stopped well short of his position and studied him. Not his weapon, not the bridge, him. Her gaze felt sharp, as if she were measuring something invisible. He expected shouting or threats. Instead, there was silence, the kind that made his heartbeat feel loud. For hours, he had fought without thinking. Now, every thought rushed back at once. How tired he was, how much it hurt to breathe, how easy it would be to fall. He did none of that. He straightened as much as his body allowed and stayed where he was. Behind him, faint sounds carried across the bridge. Movement, voices. People were still crossing. The knowledge grounded him. Whatever happened next, his time here still mattered. The alien leader took another step forward. She spoke then, her voice calm and clear, carrying across the broken space. He did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. This was a challenge.
And just the only way he could. He lifted his rifle slightly, not to fire, but to show he was not moving.
That seemed to amuse her. She circled slowly, never turning her back on him, eyes sharp and curious. This was not how she expected resistance to look. No shouting, no begging, just a human who refused to leave. The bridge creaked beneath them, a reminder that time was running thin for both sides. At last she stopped and raised a hand. The aliens behind her remained still, waiting. He felt the weight of that pause. This was no longer about orders or strategy. It was personal now. He adjusted his stance again, pain flaring, sweat running into his eyes. His body was failing him piece by piece, but his will held.
He did not know her title. He did not know her power. He only knew that if she wanted the bridge, she would have to come closer.
The silence stretched. Somewhere far behind him, the last of the civilians hurried across. He could hear it in the echo of footsteps. She took one more step forward. The moment it arrived, she moved first. Not with a rush, not with anger, but with calm purpose. Each step she took felt heavy, not because of her armor, but because of what she represented. The others stayed back, watching in silence. This was no longer their fight. He tightened his grip on the rifle. His vision blurred, then sharpened again. Pain shot through his leg as he shifted, but he planted his feet. If this was the end, it would happen here. She stopped a short distance away, close enough that he could see the details of her armor, the marks of many battles. Her expression was unreadable, curious perhaps, or calculating. She spoke again, slower this time. The words still meant nothing to him, but the tone was different. Not a threat, more like a question. He swallowed and answered the only truth he had. The words came out rough, barely louder than the wind. He did not know if she understood them, but he stood straighter after saying them. It felt important to say them out loud. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then she attacked. It was fast and controlled, not wild, not cruel. He fired once, then again, backing up only enough to keep his balance. The bridge shook under the force of the exchange. Debris scattered, dust filled the air. She closed the distance with frightening ease. He felt the impact more than he saw it, the force throwing him against the barrier. His rifle slipped from his hands and clattered across the concrete. He struggled to breathe. Every part of his body screamed at him to stay down. Instead, he pushed himself up. He had nothing left but himself, no weapon, no strength worth counting. Still, he stepped forward. She hesitated. Just for a second, long enough for him to notice. He raised his empty hands, not in surrender but in defiance. His legs shook. Blood soaked through the bandage he had tied hours ago. His vision tunneled, but he stayed upright. Behind him, the sounds he had listened for all day faded. The bridge was almost clear. She seemed to realize it at the same time. Her gaze shifted past him, then back again. Something changed in her posture. The fight drained out of the moment, replaced by something quieter. He took another step forward, daring her to finish it. The bridge groaned loudly, cracks spreading deeper now. The structure would not hold much longer. She lowered her weapon, not in defeat, but in decision. He did not relax. He did not thank her. He simply stood there, breathing hard, waiting to see if she would change her mind. The moment stretched, fragile as the bridge beneath them. This was the edge. Whatever came next would decide everything. The wind picked up, pushing smoke away from the bridge in slow waves. For the first time in hours, he could see clearly. The far end was damaged, scarred by fire and impact, but empty. No more shapes moving, no more footsteps advancing. She stepped back.
It was not a retreat wind here. It was measured, deliberate. She raised one hand, and the aliens behind her obeyed at once, lowering their weapons. The message was clear even without words. This fight was over.
His legs finally gave way. He dropped to one knee, then caught himself against the barrier. The pain he had kept locked away rushed in all at once. His breathing turned rough and uneven. Still, he stayed conscious. Still, he watched. She looked at him one last time, not with anger, not with pride, with something closer to understanding. Then she turned and walked away, her force parting around her as they withdrew from the bridge.
Only then did the quiet feel real.
Moments later, distant voices reached him from behind, shouts, running footsteps, friendly sounds. Hands grabbed his shoulders, steadying him as others rushed past to secure the bridge. He barely heard them. His ears rang, and the world felt far away. Someone asked how long he had been there. He tried to answer, but could only manage a weak breath and a small shake of his head. Time no longer made sense. The bridge groaned again, louder this time. A deep crack split through the center, and everyone froze. He felt the vibration under him, sharp and final.
They pulled him back just in time.
The bridge collapsed moments later, concrete and steel crashing into the river below. Dust rose into the air, thick and blinding. The last path forward was gone. But the evacuation was complete. As he lay on the ground, staring up at the dull sky, he felt something he had not allowed himself to feel all day. Relief. Not pride. Not triumph. Just relief that the people behind him were safe. Later, when he was awake and patched up, someone told him what had happened, how the alien advance had stopped, how the delay had saved thousands, how the enemy commander had ordered a full withdrawal. He listened quietly. To him, it had never been about stopping an army or changing the course of a war. It had been about standing in one place and refusing to move. Far away, among the aliens, stories spread. Not of the bridge, but of the human who held it. Not with superior weapons or numbers, but with endurance and stubborn will. They learned something that day. Humans could be pushed. They could be wounded. They could be exhausted.
But when something mattered enough, they could not be broken.
And that messaging absolutely landed with the user base, at least initially. People were incredibly excited. The promise was a smarter, more reliable AI that could help with everything from writing complex code to drafting an email with real literary flair. The idea of an AI with richer depth and rhythm was a huge selling point for creative users. Everyone was ready for a revolution.